give out as loan. And at the point when you come back to take your money, you don't notify them. So they must have to keep your money somehow readily available so that whenever you call, you'll be in position to receive your money back. And that's why most of the time they give short-term loans so as to recover their money on time. And based on that, they give credit mainly to traders, marketing, than things that will last beyond 5 years. Undue political interference in lending operations. I've mentioned an example where a hard politician, a core politician, who I know all his life has not done any other business except during military is there, during civilians is there. So he told me, in fact it was when I arrived there that I told him that I have traveled. I didn't mention it before I traveled because he could have insisted that I finish that business with him before I traveled. I told him that I've traveled, that I should find another person who will do that feasibility report for him. And he is very good in close relationship with the government. So at the end of it, even if he has given a proposal of reaching a feasibility report for 500 million, there's no way at the end of the day he won't get 10 million out of the money. And tell me when he will pay. And he was instrumental to the installation of the government. I don't know whether you are following what I'm saying. The governor of my state. This man happened to be a former national vice chairman of the party. He was in charge of 5 states when he was there. His tenure ended last year. So he was behind, in fact there were 3 who were behind the installation of the current governor of my state. So there's no way he will go to the governor. This is my own, this is my one open farm. The man will not say approve at least 10 million or even 50 million to the man. And tell me, God will only help him to pay back. Then government believed that the appropriate interest rates for agricultural loans be kept low to promote agricultural development and to assist small farmers ends up in the hands of big farmers who now invest this fund in their farm business, leaving their own funds free for investment outside farming, thereby negating the intention of government to increase agricultural output and encourage adoption of new technologies. Now, some of these big-time farmers who can access these funds, once they get it, that means that their own money may be kept. They will now use the one they got from government and do whatever they want to do. And then rechannel their own money, their own profits or savings to other uses other than agriculture. Though the intention of government is to use that money to assist you improve or increase the one you have, but they will now leave the one they have to enjoy that of government alone. Credit flowing into unproductive areas, leading to policy dislocation or distortion. For example, the river basin development authorities that were established, some of them have gone out of their way to establish what they call irrigation facilities to more or less dry areas. And tell me how irrigation facilities will work in a dry land. Or some of them have even gone into full-blown food production with attendant overhead costs. We try to make some suggestions on the way forward. One is making adequate provision in the budget to ensure that policies are funded. Review and reform of existing schemes and institutions to make them more supportive of farm output. For instance, the Nigerian Agricultural Cooperative and Rural Development Bank, as I'm talking to you today, is still doing the government handouts and recovery. So we are suggesting that we should also take deposits so that it will also have its own funds to work with. Drafting of financing policies that are targeted at some agricultural outputs aimed at improved raw material for industries, reduction of imports, ending of foreign exchange where the country has competitive advantage, training and capacity building for staff of institutions involved with implementation of policies to strengthen institutional capacity, to reduce transactional costs of financial institutions partaking in financing programs. Cooperatives and community-based organizations should be involved as channels of agricultural and rural credit delivery. Simplification of operational procedures in credit administration to reduce costs, as well as modification of the terms of financing under most policy initiatives, such as interest rates, eligibility criteria, legal rights to land, and other documentation to enhance access. Granting loans to group of farmers, integrating credit with input supply and output marketing to reduce default. Financial institutions should also monitor and supervise all facilities disbursed. CBN on its own should effectively and diligently carry out its regulatory function on banks to check non-compliance with regulations, insider abuse, and default. Just like recently, in fact, on 14th of August, the new central bank governor who was appointed around May got up with 5, okay, let me call them 10 now, because they released another list sometime early this month. We have 10 banks that were about getting distressed due to insider abuse. And the 10 MDs now, except maybe 5 of them that have been released temporarily because their case has gone to court, the recent 5 are still cooling their legs in detention camp to give account of how they gave an individual up to 10 billion, some 20-something billion, an individual. If there's no insider abuse, there's no way you give an individual such an amount, even if it's a company, because every entity is an individual, a company, a human being. Before the law, they are legal entities. In fact, one of the MDs was quick on his feet. He was able to escape to Britain. And his tracks are being followed up, and recently they said he has an account in UK with over 10 million pounds. It's a scratch your back, you scratch my own. So if the CBN has been on their toes, monitoring and supervising them effectively and diligently, I doubt whether these insider abuses could have gone to this extent. And banks have failed in the past. It's still the poor people that suffered it. Those who cannot reach the MDs, that are the people who suffered it most. Finally, if government agri financing policies is to achieve its target of rural development, Nigeria will need an adequate level of strategically targeted investment in agriculture to upgrade rural infrastructure, boost productivity, and increase competitiveness of the farm output. Thank you very much for listening. So if you have comments, we can now discuss. Thank you.